So the children need to be released? Yeah. Release the children. Does that mean they just kind of run amok, go play in the street? Be careful. Just come back alive. So, good morning once again. Happy Mother's Day. I remember my dad's, it's a long story, but I'll tell you the short and skinny of it later. But my dad's birthday was always kind of close to Mother's Day, and sometimes it landed on Mother's Day. And we always thought that was so funny to wish my dad Happy Mother's Day. So, Happy Mother's Day to you dads out there, too. So, thank you for allowing me to be here this morning to share with you. What a privilege it is. I know it's been quite a while since I've been here, and as you can see, my dryer has shrunk my shirt since the last time I was here. So I'm going to have to change out that dryer. It keeps doing that all the time. I don't know what's going on with that. So anyway, thank you for having me back. It's been a real blessing to have Mandy as a part of our clinic down there. She's been with us for a few years now. And she was a godsend. We prayed about that, and we've been looking for nurses for years. And then Dana, of course, and just having your church body as a part of being a part of Dakota Hope Clinic has just been really a blessing. And now too, I see that Carmen, our administrative assistant, is a part of your congregation here too. Blessing. I mean, our whole crew down there is just something else. I'm the only guy there, but I can tell you that the women there are very consoling and caring in such a way that it's so great to see how they handle, let alone the clients that come in, but how they help each other and how they help, even our donors. There's such a need for that motherly instinct that comes into Dakota Hope Clinic. And so I'm so thankful for Carmen and her boys and for Nadia, our director. If you've ever met Nadia, I don't know if I should say, but Nadia's retired, but then she came to, she helped start Dakota Hope Clinic 15 years ago. And then she's been our director now for a number of years and looking at retiring again, and which I don't want her to. But she is so motherly. And she's been so good to me. And I can tell you, over the 15 years of being a board member and then being an employee, what a blessing to be under Nadia. She's not just a boss. I've been so privileged to be a part of her and seeing how she handles things like a boss, but yet caring enough to ask people's opinion. And even when things do get sideways, Nadia and I have knocked heads sometime. But she is so quick to forgive and so quick to offer forgiveness to me, but also quick to ask for forgiveness. And that's what we need in that influence of each other, but that motherly instinct that mothers, I believe, have, that God has placed in them to mend families and to bring grace and mercy into situations. And so even though she isn't my mother, it's funny. We've been so close now over these years and I think Carmen could even relate to this too. But it's funny. I'll be talking to her on the phone or talking to her somewhere, and it's so crazy. But we go to hang up and I just instinctively say, "Love you," to my boss. It's a little bit weird, but after I say it, but I mean it. I didn't just say that because we're having a nice conversation. It's like, I do. I love you. And she's like a mother to me. My mother's been passed away since 2011. She passed away the year of the flood, or the same week as the flood, actually. And I don't know if anybody here knew my mother. Did anybody know my mom? She had quite an influence in town. She was a part of the Christian Women's Association. You probably knew my mom. And so sweet. She's one of these people, literally, she would not let anybody get by without saying hi to them, but then also she would just draw people in and want to talk to them and just want to know about them and where you're from. And she was so good like that. Drove me insane as a kid. It's like, Mom, come on. But we were constantly talking to strangers and picking up people and just, people would come to live with us and But if I told you, without you knowing my mom or even giving this little premise to who my mom is, you'd be like, wow, who is this woman that you are speaking of? My mom was married 5 times. My mom got married a week out of high school to a man that was over 10 years older than her. Married and was married for a few years. I don't remember all the details. And had 3 children with him. They owned a bar. And she had 2 boys and a girl. Boom, 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 right in a row. But he was a Golden Glove boxer. And he liked to box. And that included my mom. So needless to say, they didn't make it long because of the abuse. My mom went on to find another man. And I don't know the whole story. I don't know how it came about. Quite a few years later, she met my dad. And they were married for a total of 3 months. And it ended at a stoplight on Christmas Eve. They were having an argument about something. I don't know. I was there, but I wasn't listening. My mom was pregnant 3 months with me. He put the car in park at a stoplight, got out of the car, and walked away in Nebraska. Walked away, never saw him again. She had my brother that was 11, my brother that was 10, and my sister that was 9 at that time. So, gave birth to me, and then not long after, when I was about 2, she married my stepdad, where I got my last name Knutson from. And she married him, and they were married until I was in 8th grade. But during those years, I thought it was normal. We all do. We grow up in dysfunctional homes, and we think it's normal, and we all live in dysfunctional homes to some extent. But I didn't know how dysfunctional. But there was the average, lots of drinking. My dad was a stock car racer. And I remember telling people when I was a kid, I said, I want to grow up and be like my dad. I want to drink Budweiser, race stock cars, and smoke Winston cigarettes. That was my goal. I gave my mom a lot of heartburn. When I was 3, 4, somewhere in that range, got into my aunt's overnight case. Back in the day, I guess, when pills were easy to open, I don't know, before they had child-proof lids. And I proceeded to eat a lot of these pills, thinking they were M&Ms. Or when I was a kid, I called them nummy nums. And I ate a whole bunch of them, and my aunt was a pill pusher. I mean, she had all of them, so she had, where the pills that keep you from getting pregnant, and she had, uppers and downers and just all kinds of stuff. And I ate a lot of them. And by the time they found me, I was already laid out, passed out, turning blue, and we were 50 miles away from Thief River Falls, Minnesota. They wouldn't even let my mom go in the emergency or in the vehicle with her because they said, fat chance he's going to live. Got me into Thief River Falls, and too late to pump my stomach, so they just put me on resuscitation, and I was in a coma. And they said, fat chance he's going to make it, but if he does, he's going to be brain dead, and he's never going to walk again. Because there's just no way, considering all the pills he took. My brain was not going to be able to handle it. And as you can see, I'm fine. Why are you laughing? Then moving on from there, my poor mom, I really don't even remember all the times I was in the emergency room with my mom. I almost lost my leg to an infection. On and on. Oh, I got attacked when it was on my 11th birthday. I remember that. I was attacked by a German Shepherd on the Air Force Base. And he took off part of my face over here somewhere on this side. On and on. Playing football, a sophomore in high school. broke my neck playing football. My mom already had gone home, and it didn't happen right away. I was going downstairs. The game was over. We lost, by the way. It was homecoming night, and I was going to the locker room, and all of a sudden my left leg didn't come forward, and I fell down. I was like, whoa, that was weird. And then by the time they tried to help me up, I couldn't move either of my legs. I was like, uh-oh, what's going on? And they called the ambulance to come get me. And by the time the ambulance come, I couldn't even talk. They had to put a tongue depressor in my mouth to hold my tongue down so I wouldn't swallow my tongue. And they had to call my mom. We're taking Tim to the emergency room in Minot. She's like, what? The game's over. What is going on? Obviously, I walked again. When I was arrested the first time, I was in 8th grade. I had to call my mom and tell her where I was at, but she couldn't come get me because she'd been drinking herself. When I was in 7th grade, came home at 5 in the morning after being out all night with my sophomore girlfriend. I thought I was going to see Jesus that night. My mom was mad. When I was in 8th grade too, that's the same year that my dad decided to take off with a neighbor friend, and he was cheating on my mom, and my mom found out about it. And I remember he came home to pack his car, pack all his stuff, and leave, and I could hear him yelling and screaming and carrying on, and my dad was a little bit unhinged, if I can say that. He had guns everywhere, and I heard shots fired. I thought for sure he killed my mom. He shot at her. He could have easily killed her, but he was just shooting off some warning shots to get away. And he packed up his car and he left us. That night I went out and ran out, and my mom got rescued by a friend of ours. And I took off because I thought my dad was going to come back and kill me. So I took off and went and hid in the cornfield and spent the night out there. From that point on, I got unhinged. I was a drinker, got arrested, down the road I went. Got arrested a couple times. I fell out of a car going 65 miles an hour in a drunken stupor. Should have died. Ended up in the emergency room in the hospital for 15 days. You know, these were constant phone calls to my mom all the time. We got your son in the emergency room. We got your son in the emergency room. We got your son in the emergency room. I got fired from my first job. I was living on my own. I was 18, but I just got fired from my job. And my friends decided they wanted to take a road trip. So we took a road trip, but this is not an average road trip. Road trip used to be like, oh, let's just tool around town, you know, go up maybe 50 miles. We ended up in Perryton, Texas. And probably wouldn't have been that big a deal. She probably never would have found out, but I got to Perryton, Texas, and something was going on. I don't know what. All of a sudden, I was really sick. Party. And I was sick. And I remember everything was swelling. My face, my lips were so swollen that they were blistering. I could hardly breathe. I remember it was all I could do to suck in a little bit of air. And one of the girls, thankfully, went and got her mom. Her mom was a nurse, and she came to check me out. And she's like, what is going on? Without even having to take my temperature, obviously, everything, my lips and everything were swollen. They took me to the emergency room. And getting ready to, they marked me up for a tracheotomy. You know what a tracheotomy is? That's when they poke that hose in your neck so they can help you breathe so you don't die. But they decided for some reason to call my mom, and I was like, oh no. Even then, I was just like, let me die. Just let me die. And I remember they called my mom. Hi, Mrs. And my mom's she was remarried by this time. This is her 5th marriage. Mrs. Allen, we got your son down here at the emergency room. We need to give him a tracheotomy, blah, 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 blah. And my mom's like, and I don't know what, I couldn't hear. All I could hear was the nurse. The nurse is like, yeah, we're at the emergency room. We're in Perryton Community Hospital. Perryton Community Hospital? Perryton. Texas. Texas, ma'am. Texas. No, you can't talk to him right now. He can't talk, ma'am. We can't, ma'am, no, you can't talk to him. Ma'am, your mom wants to talk to you. I was like, this is what God does to you. This is for what you all do to me. This is what God's going to do to you for doing this to me. She was, I don't blame her. She was mad. On and on. I'm not even telling you all of it. But I can tell you during all of this, even with my mom's ups and downs and choices in men, and she always was encouraging me and loving me and never making me feel like I was. I remember the first time I got arrested, I felt so ashamed because I knew my mom knew. I was always felt so ashamed. And my mom was always giving me cards and giving me Christian gifts, trying to draw me into the Lord, wanting me to love Jesus. And she always had this hope for me to be a Christian and to do something with my life that was honoring to God. And I fought it. You know, I felt like I loved the Lord, but I had that wild bone in me that always had to do something crazy. And on I went. That time I fell out of the car, I was 21 years old. I should have died. No reason I don't know. It was the grace of God. And I quit drinking. And obviously for, good reasons, right? And it was 6 months after I turned 21. Isn't that crazy? Just turned 21 and I quit drinking. And I was about 9 months into it, and then I fell off the wagon again. And I really hit it hard. Holy mackerel. Sick and just gone. And I remember my mom made me a cake to celebrate my sobriety. She didn't know I wasn't sober. Killed me. And I told her, Mom, I'm sorry. I don't deserve this cake. I don't deserve this. She just hugs me. Oh, Timmy. Yeah, you do. You can start again. And I did. And I've been sober, 36 years or whatever it's been, a long time. And with God's help, this is one of the gifts my mom had given me over all the years. There was lots of them. And she always wanted, she put little stickers on them, and then she'd write in them a blessing or something, right? And after I quit drinking, I moved away from here to kind of get away from that life. I was a bartender, I was a DJ at Tilly's back in the day, which is now the original bar. And even though I wasn't drinking, I was still in that scene, and I was around that stuff too much. And I knew I needed to get out of here. So I loaded up and I moved to Montana to live with my brother. And I was working at an engineering company doing drafting, and had our own little office and everything. And I was really seeking the Lord. I was going to men's groups, and I was attending church and just looking around and really seeking the Lord, right? And I used to keep these on my desk. And what it is it's a little crystal, well, it's plastic, it looks crystal, but it's just a little case that you open up, and then there's a little card, and one side it's got a verse, and then on the back side it's got a prayer. And I'd read that every morning when I got to work. And I remember one day, opening up that card, and it was 1 Corinthians 15:17. If Christ has not risen from the grave, your faith is futile, and you're still dead in your sins. If Christ is not risen from the grave, your faith is futile, and you're still dead in your sins. And the Lord just deposited faith into me. Whoosh. All of a sudden, it was just like overwhelming. No decision to be made. It was just like, yeah, this is it. I don't have to ask Jesus into my life every day, every time I fall apart, every time I fail. There was grace, there was mercy. And I didn't have to understand all the hard questions of the Bible. I didn't have to know if Adam had a belly button. I didn't have to know how he got all those animals on the ark. I didn't have to know all this stuff. Faith was deposited into me. And I remember going home that night and telling my brother and just explaining to him what was going on. It was just overwhelming. And then I told my mom what had happened. She was always my biggest supporter. She always had the most hope and trust and belief, and that I could be so much more. She was my biggest fan. Now I think about John chapter 16, verse 21. It says that when the time had come for a woman to give birth, she knew the time had come. Meaning that she knew the pain was here to give birth. But then it goes on to say, but then she forgot about the pain because she had gave birth to life in a human being. She forgot about the pain. I think about all I put my mom through and all that pain that I put her through for all those years. I mean, on and on. I mean, you guys wouldn't believe all the stories I would tell you about when I was gone for weeks. Just like the other men in her life, I was just being horrible to her. But she had grace and mercy for me. And can I tell you this? Do you know what's amazing? The grace that this woman had. When I got married, I had four of my dads at my wedding. That first man that she married to that was a bit of a boxer and liked to box her around a little bit, he was always a part of our life. Always. He was always there. And I didn't know for the longest time who this guy was, except I called him Uncle Morse. And as a little boy, you don't really contemplate what uncle even means. But here he's the dad to my other siblings. I had no clue. And he was friends with my adoptive dad. They would go out hunting and fishing. He was always there. He was there for holidays. He would come stay at our house even when my dad wasn't there. He was always around. My mom was always hugging, and she's just like, oh, come on in. You know, you would never know this was an ex-husband that used to beat her. And at my wedding, there's a picture of me and all my dads, and she was good with it. That's the motherly influence she has helped instill in my life. Everybody deserves grace and mercy and needs to be encouraged to come to the Lord, no matter where they have been, no matter what they have done, no matter what they've done to you. That's a motherly thing that God has instilled in women. I believe that no matter what, whether you've had children, didn't have children, whether you've adopted children like Leo talked about, whether you fostered, whether you're Mother Teresa and never had children. I've had all girls, and all those girls from the time they're little are motherly. And they hold those babies and they milk and they want to be moms. That's instilled in them. That's from God. And I have that in me. Even though I'm not a mother, I have those from my mom giving it to me giving me that life and giving me that grace and speaking into me that you are so much more than this. That's a characteristic of God. That's for you. And I know there's many different stories and of moms in our lives. And you might have some wayward children. You might have lost some children. Maybe you've never had children. We all have different stories, but is His grace sufficient for all this? Yes. And I'm so thankful that one of the top 10 to honor our fathers and our mothers. So today I want to honor you and thank you for being you, regardless of where you've been and what you've done. You're created in the image of God. God put you on this earth with purpose and destiny as a mother. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for encouragement. I thank you for being a mom. When I was a senior in high school, a junior, my mom was really having, my dad was gone, my adoptive dad, and we were going through some hard stuff. And my mom had to sell the house, and we were going to move to Burlington. But it was my senior year out in Carpio. And I remember I don't really know how it even came about. An older couple from Carpio said, hey, we know this is probably hard, but, Tim can come live with us for his senior year. And they knew about me. I mean, you live in a town of 200 people and you live like I did. They knew how I was. And they just said, Tim can live with us. I went to go live with them. And it was so good. Lloyd and Joyce Peterson. Couldn't get more Norwegian than that. And it was only for a short spawn, and she had several kids, but they were all grown up and moved out, and they were quite a bit older than I was. But I went to go live with them just for that little bit, and I remember just Sunday nights sitting there and watching Lawrence Welk, and I remember I had such a respect for them. I am not ever going to come back drunk to this house. I'm never going to disrespect this house. And just for that little bit that I lived with them, I called her my surrogate mom. Joyce died a couple years back. She lived to be, I don't even know, close to 100. And she requested that me, out of all of her children and out of her 48 grandchildren and 16 great-grandchildren, she wanted me to be there at her funeral to speak. Me. I wasn't officially adopted into her family. But all of her siblings, all of her children, all agreed, no, you need to do this. And these were all God-fearing kids. They all loved the Lord. That's how it is for us too. We're adopted into the family of God. And He embraces us. So I encourage you that if you are seeking a relationship with the Lord today, I don't know all of you. I don't know you intimately enough. But I always want to encourage a relationship with the Lord. And encourage you into that embrace like you get from a mother, or maybe you've desired from a mother, but that embrace that you can get from belonging to the body of Christ and belonging to this body. Place your faith and your love and your trust in who Christ is. His mercies are new every day. Amen. So I'm going to finish up, and you can come on up. So I want to encourage you about Dakota Hope too, that we are there for women and encouraging mothers, and we celebrate mothers every day. But we're also there for men. We're there for the family unit. Because like it says in Genesis, that the man and the woman shall become one. So we celebrate women all the time, but I just want to encourage you that there's a lot more to Dakota Hope than just women and just us trying to encourage them to have that baby. We want to encourage them in their walk with the Lord. So your support to Dakota Hope means so much, and I thank you for that.